So here we are in For the People. It's the summer of 1862. I've laid out the reinforcements, etc. The Union armies have grown significantly. We see their sizes. I can move this back because we're done with this. And the Confederates can't match that, mainly because of their rail net not allowing them to move their dispersed reinforcements into place easily. But also, the Army of Mississippi and Army of Tennessee are both up here without an ability to get reinforcements. I have to be careful about whom I promote anywhere, with the Confederates at least, because of their fairly low strategic will. So right now Van Dorn and Polk are their highest leaders. Van Dorn's very good, and I'd love to get him in command of an army. However, maybe too good. I don't know if I want to pay the points for that. I have Jackson on the board with 4 divisions, and that's intended to try to help reinforce the armies that are in trouble up there facing the Army of the Tennessee. The Army of the Cumberland, if it ever got moving, would be a potent force, but it's very hard because all the Union cards, they need 3s to move any of their armies. All their leaders are 3 initiative leaders, except for Pope with the Cumberland. Now, Pope's got a 2. You'd think he'd be doing stuff, but Burnside also has a 2, and he's very useful. The Confederates did not get a campaign event that they wanted to play, so we're going to start with the Union, see what they can do here. Alright. Okay, so the Union played a minor campaign. They been jockeying around, fought the Army of Mississippi and drove it off, but then during the minor campaign they attacked the Army of Tennessee, got knocked back, even though it's out of supply. And I'm not sure I took that into account. And then for the second part, the Army of the Cumberland marched down into Columbus, grabbing Paducah and Columbus. But then they headed down here and attacked Memphis, where Polk is. Now this is a risky move, I'll say. Again, probably a mistake. This is the kind of thing I would do in a 2-player game without thinking, so I'm letting it stand. But now the Confederates can build a fort in New Madrid and block the Union supply line for the Army of the Cumberland. Of course, the Army of the Cumberland isn't really in a lot of trouble if that happens. They can go destroy the fort then. It'll force them to move back. I was seriously considering swinging this way, even before fighting, in order to try to make Kentucky a little bit harsher. But bagging the armies seems less important than getting control of the Mississippi to me. And by driving down, right now, the Union's got control of the entire Mississippi river-wise. And I think there's a strategic will cost for that. No, they have to actually own the ports for that to happen. They do not have all of them. The key ports are these gray ones, and some of them are here along the Cumberland. It's not just the Mississippi. So, anyway, they're seeing this chance to seize a lot of territory as being worthwhile. Hopefully, things won't go too badly for them. I'm kind of worried, though. Anyway, we're back on the Confederate turn. They've got a hard situation right now with 2 weak armies, and having armies trying to operate near each other is horrible in this game, because if they intercept into one another's spaces, you've destroyed an army at a huge strategic will penalty. It seems better to let them fight alone, especially since combat alone isn't that bad. Alright, we'll see what they can do. Nothing's happened in the East for a while yet this season. the situation in Kentucky was just too dire and had to be dealt with. But now I'm worried about the Army of the Tennessee being cut off as well. Just kind of an amusing situation. So the Confederates are availing themselves of an opportunity that the Union gave them by positioning themselves in Lexington. They've swung Jackson through to attack. We're going to take this in play now. If Jackson can win this fight, he destroys that army. That would be a huge swing in terms of what's happening in Kentucky, I would say. All right, let's see what we get here. Jackson's only got 4 strength points. He's facing... Could he have gotten more? No. Okay, he's facing the Army of Tennessee, which has 5, 6. No effect there. He's attacking at +3, because that's what his leadership rating is. And he's hitting a 1, 2, 3. Ooh, they got McClellan stuck in there. Should be on top. He's good. 4, 5. We're going to throw the elites in. And this is a medium battle again. So +3 to +5. The attacker got a 9. Defender got a 3, or got a 10. It's going to be 3 losses to 3 losses. The Confederates lose the battle. And we've got leader loss checks. The Union loses on a 1 to 3. Confederates only on a 1. The Union's going to lose a leader. Their leaders are 1, 2, 3. Oh, they lost more than 2. They lose their elite unit. Okay, so McClellan has been killed. Well, that's kind of cool. Now Jackson retreats back. I don't know if he suffers the same penalty. He may. I'll check that. His corps may be destroyed here. If the defender had to retreat onto a PC that was opposed to him, he'd lose an extra strength point. I have to check to see if the attacker does. So I was mistaken on a couple of counts there. First of all, there was an asterisk on the attacker's results. So he actually won that battle and destroyed the Army of Tennessee. That's the first thing that I noticed for myself. And that's going to cause some generals, Buell and Curtis, to be delayed till next turn, and the cav will get replaced. I don't know who he gets replaced by. We should set on the back. Okay, but more important than that, well, not as important as that, the Confederates attacked out of supply. That gave an additional +2 to the Union, but the Union got their maximum result anyhow. Oh no, wait. No, the Confederates did not reach their maximum. Shit. I'm cheating here. Okay, so Jackson is destroyed and knocked back. Buell and Curtis are still there, along with Stoneman with the army. If Jackson had been able to get a maximum, he would have won the battle, but he did not. So it wasn't a tie, because I didn't roll casualties. They didn't have higher casualties like the Union did. Okay, so Jackson's available next turn. So let me just follow up with this. Yeah, the Confederates attacked out of supply, so there was a +2 to the attack. Now, I'm in an interesting situation. I've moved a couple of things, brought some troops up from Morehead City to joined the Army of Northern Virginia, reinforced a little. It's really hard to figure out what to do at this point. I could extend movement in Missouri. That seems like the safest thing. But anywhere attacking seems horrible at this time for the Confederates. But for the Union, well, I'm trying to remember. Oh, they created the Army of the Missouri under good old Brains Halleck over here. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to make their own stab. With the Army of the Cumberland, they're going to march down out of supply and try to take Jackson. This is the advantage of having a 2-point leader in Pope here, who can just come down. One, he's going to claim Memphis, I believe. That's his most important location. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He goes down to Jackson. Now we have an attack there. And one thing that I notice about how I'm playing here, it feels very much like how I first played Hitler's War when I ran into it. I mean, obviously the kinds of mistakes I'm making on both sides are opening things up and making options available that just wouldn't normally be. Okay, so we've hit Jackson with the Army of the Cumberland. That's 6-1 odds. So he has a +4, +5 for Pope on the attack, and then Jackson gets a +2, or the garrison gets a +2 because the Union's out of supply. So it's +5 to +2. Union gets an 8. Now the Cumberland is a 6, that puts it 7. Union gets an 8, which causes a 2-star. What did I say? 7 for them. 2. The Union's going to win here. The capital's not destroyed yet. They actually have to spend a point to convert it for that to happen. But we take 2 losses here off the Army of the Cumberland. And that is putting the Confederacy once again into an ugly situation where they're going to suffer another big strategic will loss. Such is. Okay, we got to go back to this. The Union was also out of supply with the Confederates cutting through there. So Jackson did get a victory there. This is, I'm sorry for how much I'm screwing around here, but I knew something felt wrong. So the Army of Tennessee is indeed gone. These leaders are indeed removed. And I gotta do a loss points for the Union losing an army there. Not that there was much that the Army of the Cumberland could do about this, so I think it's going to continue with its action. I'm just trying to make up issues while I still can fix them. Alright, so there we are, and hopefully I've got things right. I'll fix the bookkeeping in a moment. So finishing things up in this wild chaos. Yeah. The Army of the Cumberland made it down and took New Orleans. They can't take the fort because they didn't have action for a riverine movement. They had to move down here. They didn't have enough points to do it. Actually, they do have points for it. Instead of the blockade, they're going to do a riverine. They played Brooklyn Naval Yard conversions. They're going to use that instead to move the Army of the Cumberland and try to take this fort. We'll do the naval amphibious attack there. It's +2 for the defender, but there's an empty fort modifier. Oh! I didn't see this die roll maximum of +3. What? Oh, that's net of amphibious. Okay. Okay. So there's 2 for the fort, but there's a penalty. Hold on. Okay, I swear I saw this before, but I don't see it now. So, So the fort gives them +2. The current amphibious assault modifier is +2 though too, so that's a 0. So we're looking at 2 to 0, which I don't think is a force ratio DM. However, we do have the generals, who in this case, in the Cumberland, are +1. So we got a +1, and the defender has a +2. I'm not sure what the hell happens here. Okay, we got a 6 to an 8. It's a small battle. Both sides lose 1. Oh, we've got a strength of 4. Oh, I'm sorry. That's at least 3 more. So 6 to 8. 3 more brings us to 9 to 8. Right. Let's see what we got here. Okay. So the attacker's going to win. They take a casualty. And they do not take a lead or loss check. This has been captured, but they haven't flagged it yet because it's an amphibious movement. They needed to do that because otherwise their supply was cut, and their supply was cut by a fort up here in New Madrid. Yes, they could have gone up and attacked that instead. That would have been the same effect, but they want to cut this blockade route off. They also, let's see what else happened here. Yes, the Confederate Army of Mississippi marched up. It was in Paducah, marched through, grabbed Columbus, back up, grabbed Cairo, moved up to Jonesboro. So it's threatening Illinois. This game is obviously taking very ridiculous motions, but I'm not convinced that that's unrealistic, given that everyone seems to be ignoring their supply lines and such. Like I said, this reminds me a lot of when I played Hitler's War for the first times, where without really understanding how the mechanisms affected things, it was hard to really get a grasp of what one was to do. And I kind of feel this every time when I play these CDGs, well, the point-to-point movement games. It's not the CDG itself, it's the point-to-point movement, where it's just not clear to me what you need to protect and what you don't. So it's very easy to take risks that maybe it's a little harder in a hex-based game, and definitely harder in an area-based game. Although, to be honest, Hitler's War is a hex-based game, and the original Victory Games Civil War is also hex-based, and I remember getting myself into trouble with that initially too. Anyhow, might be an amusement for y'all to see what I'm failing at here. All right, so I'll finish up the turn and talk about what the net situation is. But again, nothing happened in the East at all. All the action was because of the chaos in Kentucky. So finally, here we are at the end of the summer of '62, and once again, I've got enough of a video to load up, so I'll do that. Wow. Well, Kentucky is now a Confederate home state, and we've got a major incursion going on into Illinois. We've got the Army of the Cumberland stuck down here, hoping that it can make its way back. Now, the Union controls the entirety of the river except for New Madrid. There's no between zone right now, and they have pretty much freedom to do whatever they like on the Mississippi. The Confederates moved their capital down to Savannah, where I wanted to put it before. I see that as a cheaper option. I wanted to put it in some place like Augusta or Charleston, but the fact is the extra national will loss makes it a bigger target, and I'd rather spread the targets out. I don't know if that's wise or not. It may be better to try to defend the things that are important really, really well. This is putting a threat on Springfield, on St. Louis, and really on the Union cause as a whole. I'm not sure which way this is going, but it's pure chaos. There's no question there. And it's what the game can kind of devolve into, I guess, if both players are ignoring what the other guy is doing to some extent. It hasn't happened that way. I mean, it hasn't been a matter of ignoring. There was a major army down here in Kentucky that got destroyed. Well, maybe not that major, 5 strength points. Nothing feels that big in this game. But anyway, that's about where we are, and I'll load this one up, and then we'll move to the fall.